Ladies and gentlemen gathered here today, you've come together for me, but I'm not the real bride. At the end of the wedding ceremony, as I declared this while it was time to read a letter to my parents, the room began to buzz. The real bride will be this lady. As I said that, the spotlight shifted to my sister. Ignoring my bewildered parents and sister, I exchanged a knowing look with my friend who's a wedding planner. The ceremony has been sufficiently disrupted, but it's not over yet. I've let my sister have her way all this time, but now it's time for her to face the consequences. My name is Camila Davis. I'm 28 years old, and I started an e-commerce site as a hobby during my student days which took off, and now I manage the company as its CEO. My wedding was right around the corner. The guy is Leo Garcia. He was a classmate from college, and after he confessed, we started dating and now we live together. Leo works for a company in the city and commutes by train, while I drive to work. Right now, I'm caught up in the whirlwind of wedding planning, with only 3 months to go. Leo usually gets home no earlier than 7 p.m., so I'm the one who handles the meals, since my schedule's more flexible. On weekends, I've got Leo doing chores like tidying up our place and cleaning the bath. I love driving. I find any excuse to get behind the wheel, even on days off. One day, I was about to head out shopping in my car. I'm going with my best friend, Hannah. We've been friends since elementary school, all the way through college. She's someone I can talk about anything with, a truly precious bestie. Today, we've decided to hit up a newly opened outlet mall. It's a bit of a drive in the next state, but we figured we'd enjoy the drive there. I head to the convenience store to meet up with Hannah. Sorry to keep you waiting. Did you wait long? Not at all. I just got here and bought myself a coffee. Do you want a coffee too, Camila? Seeing Hannah with her coffee, I felt like having one myself, so I took her up on her offer. Thank you. Then I guess I'll go ahead and ask. Meanwhile, I'll set up the car navigation. Got it. With that, Hannah cheerfully headed into the convenience store. As I went to set the destination on my car navigation, I accidentally hit the history button. When I tried to switch the screen, I wondered, what's this history? And there it was, Hotel Venus Rouge. Of course, I had no recollection of searching for such a place. This is my car, but Leo uses it sometimes too. I figured it must have been him, but didn't dwell on it and continued with the car navigation setup. I set our destination and headed to the outlet mall with Hannah. We took the freeway, and the drive was pleasant with great weather. As we approached an interchange, Hannah pointed outside the window and laughed, Look, look. It's the Hotel Venus Rouge. What a tacky name for a hotel these days. Venus Rouge, that was the name I saw in the car navigation history. I only glanced over since I was driving, but sure enough, there was a big sign that read Hotel Venus Rouge. Yeah, really tacky, I laughed along, but the fact that the hotel's name was in the history had me concerned. After finishing shopping with Hannah, I dropped her off at her house. Once home alone, I operated the car's navigation system again to check the history. Hotel Venus Rouge, proceeding with the search, brought up the location we passed today near the interstate. It definitely seems to be that hotel. That hotel, no matter how you look at it, was one of those types of hotels. Why did Leo search for that hotel? I decided to pay more attention to Leo's actions going forward. As part of that, I resolved to install a dash cam in the car. I mentioned it to Leo, and he agreed, saying, That's fine. A lot of cars have them these days, it's good for safety. I was told, in exchange, if you're going to install it, Camila should pay for it. It's Camila's car, after all. Even though it's in my name, Leo also drives it, so I insisted he chip in a little for the cost. The next day after work, I went straight to the dealership and had the dash cam installed. It captures both the front and back of the car as well as the interior. The maximum recording time is 5 hours, after which it overwrites the old footage. I also installed a GPS logger. This device records where the car has traveled using GPS. After Leo used the car, I checked the dash cam and GPS logger. I mainly use the car for commuting, so Leo uses it mostly on weekends. Of course, he always asks for permission in advance. One weekend, Leo asked, "Can I use the car this Saturday?" "Sure, but where are you going?" I asked curiously. "To that shopping mall you went to the other day. A buddy of mine wants to check it out," he replied. "Oh? Which friend? Someone I know?" "Just a coworker who lives nearby." "A woman, perhaps?" "No way. It's a guy, bigger and more muscular than me." All right. Well, bring me back something nice, will you?" "Got it. If it's a souvenir for you, food would be good, right?" "Yeah, that would be nice. I'd love something sweet." "Got it." And then came Saturday. Leo went out as planned and returned in the evening. I waited for his return and then made the excuse that I had forgotten something in the car to retrieve the memory card from the dash cam and the GPS logger. After Leo had gone to bed, I checked the contents of both the GPS logger and the memory card. The GPS logger confirmed he did go to that shopping mall. But on the way back, he took an exit at the interchange and made a detour. Zooming in on the location, it was Hotel Venus Rouge. He's totally cheating, and our wedding is next month. I can't believe this is happening. My fingers trembled as I thought this, operating the device. Despite the shock, I gathered myself to check the dashcam footage. Inserting the memory card into the computer, I played the recorded content. The first thing to appear on the screen was a long-haired woman sitting in the passenger seat. Looking closely, I realized it was my sister. My sister had always been selfish with bad conduct, practically disowned by our family, and I hadn't seen her for over 10 years since high school graduation. Why were Leo and my sister going out together, even to a hotel? My mind couldn't keep up with all the questions, and I just stared at the screen dazedly. Of course, their conversation was also recorded. "You're a bad one, aren't you? Getting married next month, and here you are doing this." And with that, my sister laughed. "It's okay, I'm marrying her because she's a CEO, and she's made a fortune at a young age," Leo's voice replied. "But does that mean we'll end after you get married?" "Of course not. You're the one I want. I plan to divorce her in about half a year. Naturally, I'll make it look like it's her fault, take a hefty alimony and a share of her assets. Then, I'll be with you." "Really? You'll wait half a year?" "I'll continue this relationship in the meantime. I can't bear to be apart from you, not even for a day." "That makes me happy. I love you, Leo." "Me too. I love you, Abigail." I stopped the playback. I couldn't bear to watch anymore. Leo was cheating, spectacularly so. And his mistress was my sister. Did he even realize? Moreover, it became clear that marrying me was all for my wealth, that his proposal and our birthday celebration at a seaside hotel were all just a facade. Why is this happening? Tears blurred the computer screen. The next day, I told Leo the first needed to go back to my parents' house for a while to prepare for the wedding. Leo didn't think much of it and just agreed. Perhaps, for Leo, my absence was a welcome relief. I told my parents that I felt a bit unsettled and needed to stay with them to calm down. They seemed to think it was just pre-wedding jitters and welcomed me back. Since my sister had been estranged from the family, I wouldn't have to see her at my parents' house. A few days later, I received a message from my best friend Hannah. Thinking I could tell Hannah the truth, I told her everything. Hannah said, "Got it. I'll come over today, and we'll drink the night away." Hannah may look cute, but she has quite the old man's spirit in her. But I like that about her. I had told my parents I was having a last single girl party. Before long, Hannah came over, arms laden with booze and snacks. "Mom, I'm borrowing Camila for the night. We might get a bit noisy, but please forgive us," she said to my mother as soon as she arrived, with her usual light-hearted banter. "Oh dear, making noise is fine, but don't drink too much. Also, I made some stew, so take it with you and eat up." My mother had thoughtfully prepared some snacks for us. Wow, thank you. I was wondering what smelled so good. It's stew. We'll gladly take it. Oh, and is it all right if we invite one more friend over? That's fine, dear. Make it a party to remember Camila. Thank you so much. With that, we called over another friend, Ellie. She was a high school classmate and, as it happens, a wedding planner at the venue we had booked for my wedding, in charge of our ceremony. Hannah and Ellie had also gone to the same high school and had met a few times, so now they were quite close. The three of us started the party. I showed them the dashcam footage. Wait, I'm not sure because I've only seen her a couple of times back in high school, but isn't this person Camila's sister? Yes, and to top it all off, he's cheating with my sister, who was practically disowned by our family. That's awful. Does he know she's Camila's sister? Regardless, it's unforgivable, and we should find a way to get back at him, Ellie said, crushing an empty beer can in her hand. She was always strong on justice, having once caught a groper in high school and turned him over to the police. She was angry as if it were her own issue. Encouraged by her words of revenge, Hannah started talking. Then let's wreck the wedding. I've got an idea. Saying that, Hannah got some paper and started writing something down. How about it? We need Ellie's help. Please, think of it as helping Camila. Of course. I'm the planner for this wedding, so I can do anything. Having Ellie, the planner, on our side is a huge relief. And with that, the plan was in place. I covered the two of them with blankets as they slept off too much drinking, and even though I wasn't sure if they could hear me, I thanked them. I had drunk too much myself, but it had somehow cleared my head. The next day, I returned to Leo's place. A few days after getting back, I executed our first plan. One evening after work, I suggested we go out to eat, met Leo at the station, and we went to a diner in my car and had dinner. Afterward, I dropped Leo off first, then parked the car in the lot and went inside the house. Then, I acted surprised and touched in the living room. Leo, you were planning a surprise for me with this? Huh? Leo let out a strange noise, caught off guard by my sudden comment. This is a gift for me, right? I found it in the car, I said, showing him a shopping bag from a high-end brand. The shopping bag even had the brand name written in big letters on it. I had spilled some coins in the car, and when I was picking them up from under the back seat, I found this. Oh, Leo, you were trying to surprise me by hiding it there, weren't you? Sorry for finding it first, I said with feigned innocence, pretending to be even more delighted. Well, that is... Leo mumbled, fumbling for words. What? It's not a gift for me? Does that mean you have someone else to give something like this to? Don't be silly, there's no one for me but you, Camila. Right, you did buy it for me, didn't you? How much was it, like $4,000? That's a limited edition. It cost about $10,000? It was expensive, but I thought it would suit you. It was meant to be a surprise, but you found it, huh? Yeah, it looks a bit young, but I can still pull it off, right? Of course, any bag would look good on you, Camila. That's hardly a compliment, you know? Sorry. Well, I'll graciously accept it then. Thank you very much. I had to suppress a laugh when I heard his last sigh. In the video I saw at that party, Leo was being cajoled by my sister into buying her an expensive bag. And then, it showed him buying an expensive bag and hiding it under the back seat of the car. I found it and claimed it as my own. He sighed again during dinner later that night. Then a few days later, I got an unexpected call from my dad. It seems like Dad's old habits have popped up again. Out of the blue, he had bought a new car. My father's always been a car enthusiast, having owned many over the years. He said he stumbled upon a used car lot after work and found a car he'd always admired and impulsively bought it on the spot. Dad, you did that without thinking, didn't you get an earful from Mom? A scolding is nothing to worry about. But listen, this is a model that isn't produced anymore. I always wanted this car and I thought I'd never get another chance to own one, so I just went for it. I can't wait for it to be delivered. Really, Dad, what about the car you're currently driving? Oh, that one? I'll give it to you. It's still in good shape, right? Well, I was getting tired of my current one, so that's not too bad. Just sell that automatic car, driving it isn't fun, right? But that's when it hit me. Alright, I've decided. I'll switch cars. Thanks, Dad. Good, it's getting delivered next week, so come pick it up then. I'll have it cleaned up for you. Okay. But Dad, don't switch cars again too soon, okay? Don't say that. A man's romance can't be stopped by logic. Alright. Thanks, Dad. After hanging up the phone, I couldn't help but smile. And just like that, my car was replaced a few days later. Camila, you changed cars? This one looks cooler than the last. Yeah. Dad bought a new car, so I got his hand-me-down. It's cooler than the previous one, isn't it? Oh, it's cool. It's sudden, but can I borrow it this Saturday? Sure, you can. And on Saturday, Leo took the keys and left, only to come back shortly after. Hey, about that car! What's wrong? Did something happen? No, it won't move. What do you mean it won't move? You drove it just fine yesterday? Because that car, it's a manual. So? What's the problem? Well, my license is automatic only. Ah, right, I forgot about that. It's not funny. Now I can't drive at all. Not being able to use a car is a problem. Why is it a problem? Do you want me to drive you instead? No, that's also an issue. I mean, it's your day off, I can't ask you to drive me around. I don't mind driving, really. Nah, it's okay. I'll figure something out. All right then. Have a good day. How's he planning to manage if he can't drive? This is exactly what I intended. The car I got from my father is a manual. I have a manual license, so it's not a problem for me, but Leo has an automatic-only license. He can't drive that car, neither technically nor legally. I knew he'd been using cars for weekly dates, so I intentionally switched to one Leo can't drive. It's my car, I can switch to whatever I want. And then, there was just 1 week left until the wedding day. I received a call that summoned me. Hello, this is Davis. Ms. Davis, sorry to call you in like this. The person on the other end returned the greeting. No problem. So, what were the results? Well, please take a seat. I'm about to go over that with you. With that, I was shown to a conference room. First off, regarding your request. Yes, this is a detective agency. I had requested them to investigate Leo's conduct. We have secured photos and videos as evidence of Mr. Garcia's infidelity. Would you like to see them? Yes, please. The detective took out a laptop, inserted a USB drive, and started playing the videos. There they were, Leo and my sister, arm in arm, playing around, then entering a hotel. The date and time of the videos were from the Saturday before last, in the afternoon. And there were photos of them kissing, hugging, and such. Thank you. This is sufficient. I took the materials and left the office. Honestly, I knew about the infidelity, but having it laid out like this was still hard. I contacted Hannah and Ellie and we met up at an izakaya, in a private room. I secured a private room and showed them the materials I received from the detective agency. This is bad. Having such clear evidence is impressive, they said in unison. There was no pity left in me. I was ready to crush him completely. Hey Camila, can I borrow these photos? What for? I was planning to make a slideshow for the bride and groom, so I thought I'd include these. With this, all that's left is the main event. Hannah raised her beer mug and toasted, "Let's do this for Camila." I was moved to tears by everyone's effort on my behalf, but I held back. And then the wedding day arrived. As soon as I got to the venue, the makeup and hair setting began, and regardless of my fatigue, everything proceeded as scheduled. When I saw myself in the mirror wearing the white wedding dress, a vision I had dreamed of, the thought of wearing it in such a state of mind almost brought me to tears. My mother wiped away my tears, saying, Now, a bride can't cry like this." "I'm sorry, Mom. These aren't those kind of tears." The ceremony ended, and the reception began. Ellie smiled at me just before we entered. Leo was in high spirits from the start, smiling all the time. I could only manage an awkward smile. The reception went off without a hitch, proceeding as planned. Then, it was time for the bride to read a letter of farewell and gratitude to her family. The room darkened, and only my parents and I were in the light. I was handed the microphone. But I didn't read the letter. I turned to face the guests and began to speak quietly. "Ladies and gentlemen gathered here today, thank you so much for joining us. Normally, I would now express my farewells and thanks to my parents and leave to join the man I love. However, the unexpected turn and my speech silenced the room. Ellie gave me an okay sign from the corner of the stage. I am not the real bride." With that, the room began to buzz. "The real bride is my sister, Abigail Davis. The groom told me that she is the one he truly loves. I have proof." My disowned sister's name coming up left my parents frozen with shocked expressions. It was supposed to be a moment for a touching letter, so their surprise was understandable when I mentioned my sister's name. When I mentioned my sister's name, light music played and a slideshow appeared on the screen. It showed two people walking hand in hand, kissing, and then entering a hotel in sequence. The music stopped, and the video of that conversation was played at high volume. The venue was in an uproar. "What is the meaning of this? The groom needs to explain." Amidst the shouting, I handed the microphone to a pale-faced Leo, bowed to his parents, and left the reception hall. Hannah and Ellie, who had rushed over, pulled me out as if to escape. Behind us, the commotion had become uncontrollable. Still in my dress, Ellie led me to an unused waiting room. Hannah brought my luggage and clothes, and I quickly changed and left the wedding venue. Hannah drove me home in her car, and I finally had a chance to breathe. "We did it!" "Yes, we sure did." Despite the chaos we caused, I felt strangely exhilarated. My parents scolded me quite a bit when they got back, but since Leo was the cause, it wasn't too severe. My father took care of all the aftermath. Although the wedding was nearly finished, since the marriage itself fell apart, we had to return the gifts, but everyone understood the situation, and it was resolved smoothly. Leo had a hard time. His infidelity exposed and the wedding in shambles, he was supposed to pay the entire cost of the wedding, but he couldn't afford it, so his parents paid in his stead. His boss had been at the wedding, so his workplace found out, and it was discovered he used work email to contact my sister during work hours, which led to his demotion. He didn't get fired, but after causing such a commotion, he couldn't continue working as usual, couldn't stand the atmosphere at the company, and ended up resigning on his own. Meanwhile, my sister, the affair partner, didn't stay with Leo after the fiasco and ended up breaking up with him. Since the engagement had gone as far as the formal exchange of betrothal gifts, I broke off the engagement and demanded alimony and other expenses from Leo. Since Leo had almost no savings left after preparing for the wedding, his parents ended up paying in his stead. Leo, lacking any particular skills, found it difficult to secure full-time employment again. He's now working part-time to repay his debts. Naturally, I also demanded compensation from my sister, the other party in the affair. It's a sad story that our first meeting in a long time was for a demand for compensation. My sister, who didn't have enough money to pay the alimony, apparently turned to our parents for help despite being disowned. My parents, furious about her part in ruining my marriage, naturally refused to help. So, my sister borrowed money from some dubious place. She is now working in the nightlife industry to pay it back. After my colleagues at the company heard about the incident, they suggested I take a break, so I decided to take some time off and go on a trip to a place akin to Hawaii. Ellie had resigned from her job at the venue, feeling accountable for her involvement in the fiasco. Feeling a bit guilty, I invited her to come with me on the trip. With the alimony from Leo, I could afford the expenses. While we were dining out there, we happened to meet two guys also on vacation, and we got along well, exchanging contacts and agreeing to meet up again. They worked at the same company and apparently took trips every year. When I got back to New York and told Hannah about it, she got mad at me for not inviting her. So, we decided to set up another meetup, adding one more person to the mix, making it a 3-on-3 group date. Despite all that had happened, the trip helped me recover my spirits. Life is full of surprises, and I'm ready to firmly walk towards the future.